Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. A quick info before we begin. Today's video has 2 stories and both of them have updates. Now let's get started with the first one. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice and it's by user NYC in London. Single mother flirting with husband? I have been married to my husband for 4 years and we have a 2-year-old daughter in a London Montessori. Many of the parents in this Montessori are always rushing to deliver and pick up their kids, which means that brief interactions can be common. My husband and I regularly made it a point to go to drop-off and pick up of our daughter together as we both enjoy it so much. One of the women who has a daughter in my child's class always frowns at me when I am there alone. I had seen her for several months and she would rebuke and dismiss me when I said hello or smiled at her. Then my husband went to pick up our daughter solo one day and she started speaking to him. In several minutes she told him where she was from, where she went to school, how her marriage failed, and that she was not where she expected to be in her personal life and her career choice. I joked to him later when he told me that it sounded like a speed date in the nursery. In the conversation, she asked him what he did for work and was super impressed with what he told her. And then he said his wife, me, went to the same graduate school as her during similar years, giving her a point of conversation with me, as he thought this commonality could change her nonchalant attitude with me. Anyway, at one point my husband was traveling for work, so I did solo pickups for a few weeks. And I bumped into the woman every day and she stood next to me during pickups or sat next to me, but never said anything to me. And when I was in conversations with other parents, she would be close enough to listen. It was eerie and annoyed me, and I mentioned it to my husband. He was shocked she didn't even make an introduction after she so quickly made one with him. Then, when my husband got back to pickups with me, one evening he was on the side getting the pram ready while I was with the baby on the other side of the room. She was entering the room and had not seen him for weeks and grabbed him by the shoulder to ask how he was. She didn't see me. My husband immediately introduced us and she said she remembered seeing me months ago at an event, which was not true as I see her every day. Since then, she actively says hi to my husband and ignores me when I am alone. She has tried to wait for him to exit with my daughter to talk with him, but he completely disregards, ignores her and tries to stonewall her for her behavior toward me. Am I right to assume she was trying to flirt and develop some relationship with my husband? I'm just irked how one woman could try this with a married man, let alone in their children's school. My husband and I hold hands, so it's noticeable we are together. I've never experienced this competitive behavior and it's annoying. I almost feel like saying something to her, but my husband said someone so pathetic shouldn't faze me, and he will not speak to her again as now he thinks she has issues. What would you do? Well, OP, I've never been in the situation of your husband or your situation for that matter, but still, I would confront her. Sure, you could, let's say, take the quote-unquote high road, but it would still annoy you because she's not gonna quit and it's just gonna make your experience really uncomfortable. So we go back to the question about what you should do, and I think you guys have 2 options. The first one would be that your husband handles this. Since she's hitting on him, he should just shut her down. Tell her that he's not interested, that he's in a relationship, and he finds it incredibly uncomfortable that she would try to spark up some sort of relationship at the nursery. I would assume that she being rejected by her person of interest would be enough to stop this behavior. And if it doesn't, then you and your husband should go talk to the people at the nursery that she is making your experience uncomfortable with the whole thing. And that's the option that I would go with. The other option is that the next time that you're standing next to her or sitting next to her, you simply call her out like, hey, I know what you're doing, please leave my husband alone, he's not up for your games. But I would think that would make you look insecure and she would think, oh, I'm gaining ground or something because she's annoyed. Which would take us back again to the second option, that is that your husband has to shut this down. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. I am Miss Redditor. Honestly, these days, you gotta trust your gut. It's not so much your gut, but physical cues like her giving you the stiff and being so overwhelmingly warm and anxious to be buddy-buddy with your husband that has made you feel alerted to this situation. I'd definitely let her know her little charade is unwelcome, even though there's not much you can really do. It is a school setting and she hasn't done anything to exactly cross that line yet. Keep your eyes on that one for sure. A second option is maybe she could feel intimidated by you somehow. And OP responds, I've started making direct eye contact with her to say without saying I know her game. She begins now to look away uncomfortably. What is awful is that I bump into her every day. We live in similar neighborhoods, so also on weekends, and we have the same alumni network. He told me this morning for the first time she didn't look at him and didn't make an attempt to speak. Maybe she finally gets it? Voltaic Sketchy Teapot says, look, I'ma be honest with you, woman to woman. My husband is a tow truck driver and a certifiably nice guy. Actual niceness, not the douches who go by that moniker. He gets flirted with all the time by women looking for a man to take care of them because, hey, their car broke down and he rescued them. He enjoys telling them all about his gorgeous wife and watching their faces fall when they realize this guy isn't available. It's your husband's responsibility to shut down her flirtation. He should enjoy bragging about how much he loves his wife. If he cares more about her feelings, read his own feelings about being wanted, than yours, that's where the problem lies. And OP responds, he spoke non-stop about me during that one interaction. He made it a point of mentioning me several times to her so she wouldn't misconstrue and also to give her an ability to feel I'm approachable. Still nothing. Now I have lost my goodwill to her and just hope for the sake of her own self-respect she gets the picture. Lil M's Fecking Sunshine says, what an obnoxious person. However, I think the best thing you can do is to kill her with kindness. And to think of her as a joke. If you never let her see she bothers you, it's worse than a confrontation. It's showing her that even at her best, she is not enough to matter to you or your husband. I would purposefully try to talk to her in front of other people to highlight her poor behavior, and she will slowly make herself an outcast in your community. I admit I can be petty, but you can't be her only victim. And OP responds, I really wish I could be so Buddhist about it or more of an actress, but I cannot disguise my dislike for her. Please also note, I have a lot of single mom friends back in New York City, and I see how hard they work, raise, and provide for their families. They are honorable women who would never even attempt to put fellow women in their situations, so this non-ethical nature is saddening. Additional information from OP's comments. My husband and I are uncomfortable with her advances. If it was the other way around and a male parent was consistently trying to approach a female, I think it would not be tolerated. Also, I would really love to confront her, but I feel she will completely take the victim card. Sure, her life may not have been what she wanted, but we really don't care. It's her issue to tackle. I agree. But still, I am not enjoying the nursery because of this petty person. I shouldn't let her issues influence me. Single parent or not, there should be boundaries, and if you see people resistant to your advances, you should step back and perhaps have time to rethink what you are doing. It's sad that some people put their own agendas in front of more important things like children. I can't imagine how damaging it will be for her daughter to see her mother do this in school when she begins to understand. I am fine about people doing this in other places, but we go to school for our kids, not to be in a singles club. There is Tinder for that. Now, just to be clear, I am not territorial, not threatened, and I definitely will not be insecure about someone who behaves this way. I'm just annoyed. There's the thing about manners. I hate it when people judge women, and I try to be the last, feeling a sense of camaraderie. So I guess I'm just disappointed. Also, if I wanted to make friends with someone and their partner was in proximity, I would at least acknowledge the partner's existence. I really think she thought my husband wouldn't care and form some unilateral friendship with her. Maybe that's the point about marriage she doesn't understand. My husband was giving her the benefit of the doubt, thinking she was just some lonely parent trying to make conversation the first time they spoke. And he became very uncomfortable when she acted like she had seen me at an event several months prior when he knows she sees me every day. Since then, it has been blatant she was not approaching this via a friendship context, and he's been avoiding her. I think she was trying to build some emotional connection and now realizes it's not going to happen and is annoyed. I remember one time when my husband had once gone to pick up our daughter and I was going to meet him a little later. I saw her angrily storming past me with her kiddo in the stroller. My husband said she was waiting around for him to talk and perhaps walk out with her. He gave her the cold shoulder. I was shocked at how visibly angry she seemed to me. In any case, my husband is also too smart to fall for this. He would never hurt me, let alone our family. More so since we talk and we stick up for our partner. Even more so now that we have a daughter. Now, I'll end with the irony of it all. There is a weekend class I've enrolled in and paid for our daughter to be in. My husband and I thought it would be a great bonding time and a great skill, and in the nursery, I heard this nutty woman telling her friend she had her daughter in the same class. I don't want to not go because of her being there, as I value my daughter's learning over trifling people. We waited a while on the waiting list to get in. However, it is a super small class. It's almost like dark humor comedy that of all the people in that class, we have to deal with her. Alright, well, I think the community comments covered all of the angles, and OP is really annoyed about this whole thing. She gave us a lot more context, and yeah, it sounds like this lady is definitely trying to hit on her husband or try to form something there. So now it's time that we move on to the update to see how this story ends, but of course before that, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after this video. Now let's move on with that update. Thank you everyone for your help with this. I actually did end up confronting her. So several months ago she found out where we live. I was speaking to another mother I am friends with at the nursery who asked me, and she was sitting nearby and listening, and it was obvious. I joked to my husband that day, "Watch, I bet she'll move into our street." And last month, lo and behold, she began renting in the adjacent building. This could purely be coincidental, but the fact she knew where we live, it's weird. She actually tried to set up a playdate with just my husband and the baby, and he said to go through me. She never did. So now our interactions have gone from being in the nursery to literally 3 to 4 times a day where she ignores me and goes overboard smiling or trying to speak to my husband. Like yesterday, I bumped into her 4 times, twice on our street and twice in the nursery. She looked super upset with me, but what did she expect moving one building away from me? Anyway, my husband finally told her in the nursery that I wanted to speak with her because her attempts to go above and beyond to befriend him and behave so poorly and blank me is something very obvious and disrespectful, and we don't appreciate it. Then, when I saw her, I told her the same, and that I wanted her to keep away from my family as her intentions were clear with the rude treatment she has towards me and how over the top she is with him. I was a bit upset, and I told her she was in a nursery and not a speed dating event, so maybe she should try to be aware of that. She said she was shocked. She said she walked with my husband to his office, and that's when they spoke. The thing is that my husband told me they walked out of the nursery at the same time and walked 1 block in the same direction. He felt awkward and said goodbye, and he would never walk with a stranger to his office, so essentially she lied. A few days later, she said she wanted to talk to us. My husband said he didn't have time for her as he was busy with our baby, and I spoke to her. She said she was angry with us and that we would not be friends. Please note, for 1.5 years, this woman has not even said hello to me. I said to her, "Thank you for letting me know," and I walked away. She looked dumbfounded at how I didn't care to respond. So now, this is our situation. This relatively weird person in our child's nursery and literally on our block. My husband is super disturbed that she is now living on our block. Lol, what did she think we would think? It was pure coincidence? That she would have more opportunities and reference points to befriend my husband? I feel like I shouldn't have confronted her. My husband actually said it was good. I just thought I would be able to overlook it as a nuisance and nothing more. But it was getting too personal with her being on our block, and even more irritating that she was being rude to me several times a day instead of just the nursery. I don't really care, but it's hurtful that this person, who is a stranger, is even in our periphery, and I guess I just have to learn to ignore someone so pathetic. Something about this doesn't feel right, and her proximity to us on our street and to our child in the nursery actually disturbs me. She really made us feel weird and uncomfortable when she came to the building next door. My friend told me this has the signs of a classic stalker written on it, and that's why there are rules for people to stay away. It scares me and my husband, so hopefully now with my intervention she will leave us alone, but it's unnerving. Now, she can tell her version of the story to all her friends. She can say that I am an irrational or jealous whatever wife, but she is the one who moved onto our street, and even if she were my friend telling me that story, I would raise an eyebrow when I heard that coincidentally she landed on the same street as us. It's just nuts the more I think about it, and we've actually wanted to move for a while, and this kind of forwards our thinking. Not because we want to run away, but we don't want someone unstable to ruin our peace each time we leave the house. Finally, I will let the nursery know about all of this, so there is some record. I've already mentioned this to several friends. It's just so weird to be in this situation because in the back of my head, I don't even want to believe someone could be so unstable, especially in our proximity and in our child's proximity. Anyway, tonight is the school's Christmas party, and last year she came totally made over in a dress that is not necessarily appropriate for a school function. Go figure, this must be the highlight of her year to purge dads. We'll see how it goes. Thanks again for all the comments and ideas, they all helped a lot. Well, OP, it sounds to me like you've done everything you could do before escalating things further. Now, if she continues being a weirdo that's making you uncomfortable and uneasy, then you would need to take it a step further. Maybe talk to a lawyer or go to your local police department to see what you could do about harassment. And of course, see if you can get any kind of evidence that could help you prove your point. Other than that, it sucks, but the only answer would be thicker skin, which apparently you have a lot of. So here's wishing you the best in the future, OP, for both you and your husband and your daughter. Take care and thank you for sharing. Now, let's move on to the next post that, like I said in the beginning, also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice, and it's by user Siu5389. My female 21 boyfriend, male 22, doesn't want to live with me all of a sudden. Should I be upset? My boyfriend and I have been together for almost 4 years, just graduated from the same college together this May. Last year, he needed to get an apartment for an internship but couldn't afford it alone, so I moved in with him and helped him, which he wanted. We struggled because we didn't have a degree yet, so we were working crappy jobs, but we still made it work. Now that we are graduated, we are long distance. I live in New York and he lives in Philly. And it's hard as F because we used to see each other every day. We visit every few weeks and it's really good, but when we leave, it's right back to being difficult almost immediately. So a priority of mine is that I want to actually live together once we save a decent amount of money. We both have been planning this somewhat and even visited apartments together before. I hate the distance, and we both have good paying jobs, we can afford it eventually. He just told me that he doesn't want to move in with me at first. He wants his first apartment to be his own, and he wants to become successful before moving with me so that we don't struggle. He also said he's not ready and that he doesn't want to answer to someone after leaving his parents' house or worry about someone else. I'm trying to be understanding, but honestly, I'm kinda pissed because I thought we were on the same page, and I thought when you are in a relationship, you have to consider another person's feelings in your decisions. But this has been a pattern. He is very independent-minded. He just chases his dreams, and I feel like the afterthought. But I'm always considering him in every decision I make, which I don't mind. I just wish it was reciprocated. I've told him multiple times that we can break up if a relationship is not what he wants, but he says he doesn't want to break up. Is this normal? Should I be upset? Sorry if I sound bratty, it's a lot of things, but I don't want to make this post too long. Well, OP, based on the information you give us, I see that there could be two things happening, but it's very difficult to pinpoint one in particular. The first one is, as he says, he just needs a little bit of space, a little bit of independence now that he's kind of starting to, spread his wings. He's graduated, he doesn't live with his parents anymore, he wants to experience that for a little bit, which is understandable. Of course, if that is a deal breaker for you for any reason, then you shouldn't put yourself through it and you guys can just split up amicably and start living your independent lives. Or the other option is that he's just giving you excuses because he wants you to break up with him. There was one in particular that did give me a little bit of pause, that he says he wants to live alone so that you guys are in a better position in the future because he'll be successful. But I would think he would get to being financially stable way sooner by living with you and sharing expenses. But anyways, if this second scenario is the one that is truly happening, then I would just give him what he wants and let him be free. Who knows, OP, maybe that's also the best thing for you. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Nana's Tea Party Hey Ho says, I wouldn't want to live with a partner that didn't want to live with me. Respect his wishes, it doesn't have to mean anything. And OP responds, and that's what I said too, like, I don't want to live with you if you don't want to live with me. But then, am I wasting my time then if I'm ready, or should I just wait? Von Roderick says, maybe he was honest. He just wants to be in his own for a while. By that, I mean living on his own. You know him. Do you think that what I said makes any sense? If not, then, well, I think you guys should have a serious conversation. And OP responds, it does, but I don't understand why he wouldn't want to live with me when we've been together for 4 years. This long distance is hard on both of us, and we've lived together before and it was fine. Like, I kind of feel like it's the distance, and maybe he forgot what it was like in a sense, but I'm not sure. Garcica says, maybe you grew apart after being long distance for a while and he's figuring out what he wants to do. Well, it sounds like the community was way more understanding than I was, and OP apparently still has a lot of doubts regarding her situation. So how about we just move on to the update to see what OP did next and how the story ends. So basically, he didn't want to change right now, as he feels that his goals and his independence is more important at this stage in his life than me. And after being together for 4 years, he's not ready to live with me. And that right now, he's not sure if he's ready for a relationship. So I cut it off. It hurts me immensely because this is my lover and my best friend, but I can't keep waiting for a relationship that the other person doesn't want right now. He wants to stay friends because he says our bond is amazing and we are best friends, but I just can't see myself doing that. Well, OP, short and to the point, I think you did the right thing. If he didn't want to be in a relationship with you, then you don't need to waste your time and wait around for him. And regarding this, still be friends because we have an amazing bond, yeah, I would put that on pause for a little bit, focus on yourself and get your feelings right, and then move on with your life. If a friendship is something that you guys want to explore in the future, talk about it then, but right now, just focus on yourself. So on that note, here's wishing you the best in the future, OP. Thank you for sharing it. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.